For the US faction, they have that Maz. The Maz is similar to the Carl Gustaf, but has a few good and bad differences. It has a better sight, it can be ranged farther, and on the bad side, it has a slower travel speed and it has smoke rounds instead of fragmentation rounds. The United States Hadkit Maz shoots tandem, high explosive, and smoke rounds. Tandems could be ranged up to 500 meters of manual ranging and 950 meters with HE and smoke. The tandem for the Maz can be manually ranged to 500 meters of a max effective range of 950 meters using the sight's range, and HE and smoke can be manually ranged up to 700 meters and has a sight range to 1,100 meters. When ranged at 50 meters, which is default for the Maz, the plus indicates 100 meters and then the minus indicates 50 meters. But when you manually change the range to say 100 meters, that plus becomes 50-meter increments and the minus becomes 100-meter increments. Keep in mind that HE and smoke travel faster than tandem because they are lighter rounds, so trajectory may vary. For Canada, they get the Carl Gustaf, similar to the Maz. The Gustaf has three rocket types: tandem, high explosive, and fragmentation. Both the tandem round and the high explosive round can be ranged up to 700 meters, but the fragmentation can be ranged up to 1,000 meters. It has a straightforward sight and it can be used at any skill level. The United States Marine Corps is small, can range up to 700 meters, and can trap moving vehicle targets up to 60 kilometers. HE anti-armor equals a tandem round, and dual purpose equals the LAT shot, and the spotting rifle is to range targets. For the Blue 4 LATs, the AT-4 and the LAW are pretty straightforward. All you have to do is point, aim, and shoot, and manually range if needed. The NLAW, for the British, point, aim, and shoot. There's really nothing to it. It has a max range of 600 meters before the rocket falls off. It has two firing modes, PLOS, which you could track moving targets. All you have to do is keep your sight on the target until this red circle appears and you could just shoot and the rocket should follow. The downside of the NLAW is the rocket usually shoots just a little bit below the crosshair, so you have to aim up a little bit higher. And the PLOS cannot track a target that's moving straight. The RPG-7 is very simple: point, aim, shoot, range if needed. Army distance is 25 meters, and for the tandem version of the RPG-7, your range is up to 150 meters, and it is very slow and it's very heavy, so you must factor in that. The RPG-26 is on the MEA and Russia factions. It's very simple: point, aim, and shoot, range if needed. There's a red arrow. You shoot the red arrow. If you're ranged at 50 meters, that is 50 meters, but space below it is 100 meters, and then so on and so on. The max range for the RPG-26 is 300 meters. The RPG-7V2 is the simplest rocket to use in my opinion. The big plus at the top is for 50 meters, and the smaller plus is for 100 meters. The arming distance is 25 meters. You could range it up to 500 meters with the LAT, and up to 200 meters with the tandem. For the tandem, the double lines is 50 meters, and then the one towards the middle of the site is 100 meters, the 1.5 is 150 meters, and the 2 at the bottom is for 200 meters. The RPG-28 is only on the Russian faction, and I believe it's the best rocket in the game. It has the fastest trajectory, and it's very straightforward to use. The plus is 100 meters, at the bottom of the plus is 150 meters, and the space between the plus and the arrow is 200 meters, and then the arrow after that is 300 meters, and the space in between the arrow, the 300 arrow, and the next arrow is 350 meters to 450 meters, and the last arrow is 500 meters. And last but not least, RPG-29 for MEA, Insurgents, and a regular militia. They both have two tandems, while the MEA has a sight on it, the Insurgents and irregular militias don't. It's pretty self-explanatory after that. And at the sides for vehicle tracking for moving targets, it's up to 25 kilometers. For insurgents and irregular militia, they don't get the courtesy of a sight, but they do get iron sights. The first arrow for on the RPG-29 for insurgents and regular militia is a 100 meters. The little space below it is 200. The next arrow is 300 meters, and the little space below is 400 meters. In between the 400, below the space below, and the next arrow is 500 meters, and the next arrow is 600 meters, and the space below it is 700 meters to 800 meters. Some things that I like to say is if you like the NLAW and if the NLAW is your favorite rocket, you're bad. You have no skill whatsoever. Even though the NLAW is the hardest hitting rocket, the hardest hitting rocket in the game, you're still bad if you use it. And also the RPG-28 is on top. No contenders, no one. RPG-29 comes close, maybe the small, but no. RPG-28, Russia, superior, best hat in the game.